Hey guys, it's Crowbar Zero, and welcome to another tower video. Today we're going to go over what is the perspective of playing the tower in version 25 from a starter account to an endgame account. And once upon a time I had a video very similar to this, and I decided that I'm finally going to replace it. So it kind of started out something like this. And these were my workshop values until just not too long ago. But things have changed, and so we are going to jump into that. All right, so a starter account. And you know, everyone's account's going to be a little bit different. And the best way that I could kind of quantify and group different accounts together would be generally to look at, how are they farming? Obviously, there's things that, like labs that are going to have a tremendous effect on everything that you do. But just as a general, if we're just looking at the ultimate weapons and what the ultimate weapons can provide for somebody is, well, as long, as well as like modules and whatnot. This is kind of a rough overview. Um, some accounts, like if somebody is absolutely free to play and they're not earning a lot of medals and not as many stones, their labs are probably going to be significantly more progressed versus somebody that just got into the game and they're wheeling every month as much as you possibly can. They're according to everything that I'm going to have here, that's going to push their account, farther along on what it's capable of, especially like what kind of farming it's capable of. But anyway, we're going to start up with this. So a starter account, I would say a good kind of threshold is somebody that gets up to being able to have golden tower and black hole. Those are two of the major econ drivers in this game. They're going to contribute the absolute most. So yeah, just having those two is going to be extremely important. And that's not even going into like synchronizing them. So, or being able to have access to like tier 5 that you need to be able to do the labs for black hole. But early game is when you're getting into the point where it's like, okay, yeah, you've got those ultimate weapons. You're working on synchronizing everything together. You got that down. All right, let's go on to the next thing. And the next thing I would say is getting everything out, synchronized. And I'm going to put down these ultimate weapons, specifically for that. But having GT, Black Hole, Death Wave, Spotlight, and ideally smart missiles as well. And most people are going to be like, well, why smart missiles? Well, the nice thing about smart missiles during this stage of the game, once you have Black Hole and you have it synchronized, hoarding strategies are going to be very powerful. So you're going to basically devo or devolve your workshop. So you have as, you're killing as few things as you possibly can with your bullets. And then when all of your econ goes off, that's when you hit all of the enemies with smart missiles. And ideally, those smart missiles are just going to nuke everything to the ground. There will still be like some time afterwards, and having things like black hole damage, so that it continually ticks away at those new enemies that come in, and maybe the few shots that you do have going, maybe you're able to take out a few of them. But ideally, you're gonna have a huge group of enemies, and everything's just gonna go boom. Um, this is also a big period of the game where players are really going to be struggling on like the decision between, am I going to roll the gotcha for the modules, and risk not getting anything that I need? Or are you going to be rolling on a limited pool of items in the cards to eventually get those maxed out? And it's a really hard decision. On top of that is trying to get, enough card slots. So trying to get up to like 14 card slots is really good. Getting over a cold. Anyway, um, yeah. So getting into the mid game, that's where you've gotten all the base ultimate weapons, and or that's kind of the main chunk of it right there. You probably have like chrono field, you get that up to 100% uptime, or fairly close with G comp, which isn't 100% chance, but it's good to help manage that, and make it easier to max out compared to before. Um, and you're gonna want to get all of the ultimate weapons. You're probably gonna have a moderately decent chunked up chain lightning, and then the basics of like maybe 6 quantity inner landmines, and probably a pretty basic poison swamp at this point. And you're probably going to grab that golden tower plus. That's going to be kind of that next step in your econ journey. Um, yeah, and I think that's the big point where you start transitioning into more of the later game kind of thing. Throughout the kind of mid game journey, right in that area, um, you're still probably going to be struggling a little bit with the between the cards and the modules, but towards the end of that, you're probably going to be like mythic or ancestral modules, and definitely by the end of it, you'll have full purple stars on your cards. Um, Going into the late game, that is going to be where kind of up the upper point of that is you've got all of your cooldowns minimized on Death Wave, Golden Tower, Black Hole. You're probably going to be using G-Comp, Multiverse Nexus farming. It's actually very, very powerful set of farming where you have basically both cooldown reductions on Deathwave and Golden Tower, and that'll give you an extra, like, what was it, minus 25 seconds off the total, um, just to kind of narrow down as much as possible so you can get as many Deathwave procs. And high quantity of Deathwave is going to be very, very valuable for that. So you'll be marking as many enemies as possible. So hopefully you're consistently marking all the elites for cell bonus drops, and as well as your normal enemies for coin drops. GT Plus maxed out with high duration is kind of the later end goal in that area. GT Plus really benefits from having a high duration. So basically, the higher, like the first, I think it's like 5 or 10 seconds as enemies spawn. Let's say Golden Tower starts. Any of the enemies that are currently on the screen do not count towards that Golden Tower combo. So you need fresh enemy spawns to come in. You need to eliminate those enemies. And so because of that, there's like a 5-second delay or so until the counter starts to build up. And you can kind of see that in my own game right here. It just starts and there was like a small pause. Yeah. Anyway, going on, you're probably gonna want to, you'll be, at that point, you'll probably have about Spotlight 4 and a pretty reasonable angle, maybe not max, but pretty up there. Versus like, maybe the mid game, you're probably at Spotlight angle 3. You're starting to explore some of the masteries. So masteries are like Ultimate Weapon Plus, but for cards. Once you max out all your cards, you get the option to buy masteries. You cut the entrance is like a stone cost, and then you need to lab up the rest of the way, and it's actually really expensive. So I would say it's maybe mid late game that you're really exploring the masteries. So if you're able to get into that, it's awesome. It's definitely a big power creep. Some people might only be able to get to like maybe level 3 or level 5. And they're just kind of edging up all their different tools up, to level 5, level 6, might be only one at a time, but in the end, you get a lot of progress with masteries. It pushes you along pretty bit. There's a lot of power creep in that. And just kind of a side note, I would say if you are looking at masteries, I would say buy them if you can afford some of the labs. Don't buy them just to have the card, because it doesn't give you a whole lot to begin with, but it really gives you a whole lot once you're able to make the investment into it with the labs. Endgame. So endgame I would characterize mostly as like black hole digester farming. So to get into that, it's going to be around, you're probably going to be around between like 2 to 4 Q lifetime coins. And the biggest reason for that is, here, give me a second, is buying the free ups in the enhancements tab. And I have a range on that as far as the cost. I'm just kind of assuming like this is the rough coins you'll have. About that point, and then why I have a reduced amount below the 4Q is if you have something like the vault, and you're able to pick up something like the free ups from the vault. That will definitely lower the lifetime coins that are required. Also, in like future versions, if we get a cooldown reduction on Death Wave, that will also massively lower down the requirements for this, because that's probably one of the biggest limiters to this, is not having Death Wave up all the time, marking all the enemies for maximum coin drop. So, yeah. But once you get into Black Hole Digester farming, it kind of like starts out a little bit slow, and then it starts like, oh yeah, I'm making more, and it becomes a little bit easier because now you're not just putting in coins into coin enhancement, you're also putting it out into free ups as well. So there's two things that are gonna boost your coins, and so it kind of builds up. Doesn't take too terribly long, but it does build up. For this strategy, you do need max Chronofield Plus, or pretty close to there. The biggest reason is you're not going to have 100% uptime on your black holes. So Chronofield is going to help you with the crowd control in between those that use. Again, if we get a huge cooldown reduction on Death Wave, that can totally change all of this as far as like what I'm saying. So the requirements might not be as severe at that point. And you might not have to deal with that downtime. You're probably farming around tier 16, except for right now you can see that I'm farming tier 14, and that is because I'm going to be going to bed after I make this video. So this is just my overnight. I'll run it over the course of the night, and then when I wake up, roughly, I'll be able to, that run will be over. It seems like that'll be about the right timing for me. Yeah. As far as labs done, right now I am just kind of putting it roughly about where I'm at. Just because I just got into black hole digester farming, and so that's probably you're looking at like 2,850 or so labs done. Maybe less in the future. If there's cooldown reductions and other things that happen, but yeah. Right now, earning about 6 quintillion an hour or more. It's kind of a rough amount, but yeah. Definitely at the end game. So with G-Comp Multiverse Nexus, if I was going to run something along that line as far as a build, I could probably actually get like 1 or 2 slots going as far as doing the 6 times all the time. But because I don't have that constant effect waves going out, you're earning quite a few less cells. So actually having all 5 of your labs at about times 5, maybe earning a few more cells after that is probably where you're going to be at. Your setup is going to be dealing with battle conditions. So there's things that I'm doing right now that you would absolutely not do in any tier lower than tier 14. And so I'm going to pull that up right now so we can go over that. Orb resistance. Death ray resistance. So these are really big because that means that these effects are not going to be instant killing enemies. In later tiers, there's also armored. So that also will soak up a hit. But not instant killing enemies makes it a lot easier to be able to use a lot of tools, like especially these two, so they don't steal kills from some of your other tools. Yeah, and then like the main masteries, I would say you're probably pretty close to done, or you are done. Personally, I'm kind of at the tail end of the ones that I really need. So right now I'm only running slow mastery, or slow aura mastery, and just kind of sliding down here. We're gonna be taking a look at those. Some of the big ones: damage mastery done. If you have spotlight plus, range mastery is very powerful. Coins, slow aura, critical chance, enemy balance, extra orbs, crit coin. It's okay. Wave skip mastery, intro sprint. That's a really big marker, especially going from the late game into the end game. This is extremely powerful. Recovery package, energy net, demon mode, super tower especially. Wave acceleration is really good. Zerk mastery, it's not necessary, but it's still nice. Ultimate crit mastery is very nice, as well as nuke mastery. And for some of those things like nuke mastery and demon mode, you do have to have the vault unlocks to really get the most out of those, so that they're just auto procking every 300 waves when it's done regenerating. It's very, very nice. Um, yeah. I hope that gives you guys kind of a perspective what it looks like from the very, very beginning to the very, very end. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of progression differences. If you're not buying all of the event packs, you're a little bit behind on the medals, and that's going to be pretty rough, especially if you haven't been playing since the release of events, and you have to go through and you have to buy like relics of past events. Um, that can also really slow down your progress. But once you're kind of caught up on that, then it's not so bad. And then you can earn a little bit more and start to develop your bots more and all that fun stuff. Um, yeah, I hope that gives a pretty good perspective. I hope you guys are enjoying my new mic. Hopefully that's coming across nice, clear, and crisp, and it doesn't sound like, you know, as far as my voice goes. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you later.